Hi, fifth graders. This is Miss Coatney. I teach reading with Miss Milan, who you probably saw last week when you did your YouTube videos. I'm excited to be with you here today. I just want you to know that we miss you as your teachers, and we know that this is a hard time, and know that we're just standing here with you and that we're feeling all the things that you're feeling. The first thing I want to do is look at our fifth grade newsletter. I'm not going to go over all of it, but I just want to remind you to check every week on Mondays. The Berclair Facebook page is going to have our newsletter posted. So you want to make sure to go over it with your parents because we're going to update you on everything you need to know for the week, okay? This week is new because you're going to see and complete videos from every single fifth grade teacher. And there are 9 teachers. So make sure you're checking your YouTube page daily and be on the lookout for surprise videos that come up. You can only see those if you have subscribed to our YouTube page. So make sure you push the subscribe button. Okay, so for today's lesson, you're going to need a few materials. You're going to need a piece of notebook paper and a pencil or pen. You might want to take notes during this video, and you're going to need to write out your exit ticket. So make sure you have that. Pause the video if you need to go get those things. A couple other helpful tips. Remember that anytime during the video, you can pause it. You can also rewind if you didn't hear something I said or you need to go back over it. So make sure you do that anytime you need to. And remember, this is so that you can learn. So make sure that you are doing everything that's asked of you and just doing your best, okay? Because we want you to keep learning. All right, we're going to start our lesson by going over some vocabulary that we're going to see in our text today. I'm going to go over it kind of quickly. So anytime you want, you can write these things down, pause, go back, whatever you need. All right, so our first word is appreciate. If you appreciate something, you understand its importance. Show my teacher that I appreciated her, I brought her some flowers. Take for granted. So if you take something for granted, you are valuing it too lightly. That means you're not valuing it enough. So take for granted is a phrase, and it's sort of like the opposite of appreciate. So appreciate, I really value it. But if I take something for granted, I forget to value it, right? This sentence, I think that you take your friend for granted. She is always sending you flowers and doing nice things for you, and you never appreciate it. Warning. A warning is information saying that something bad or dangerous might happen. This is kind of one of those pictures that makes me think, whoa, a warning. And a sentence as an example, the lifeguard posted a warning to stay out of the ocean since sharks were nearby. Wasteful. If someone is wasteful, they use something in a careless way. So throwing away extra food on your plate is wasteful. You should save it for later or give it to someone else. All right, the next thing we're going to do is preview our text. We always do this before we read a text. The way we're going to preview today is we're going to look at the pictures and the title, and we're going to make a notice and a wonder. So a notice is something that I see when I look really closely, and a wonder is something that I can infer from my notice, or maybe I predict from my notice. It's also a question that I could ask. I'm going to give you an example. I notice in this picture, many people are gathered together eating and smiling. I wonder if they're having a party. I would like for you to pause the video and type your answer in the comments and then come back to watch the rest of the video. So pause and write your answer. Remember that your notice and wonder should be connected. So look really closely and make a notice, and then make a wonder from that notice. All right, now that you're done with your notice and your wonder, I want to bring your attention to the title, Why the Sky is Far Away, a Nigerian Folktale. So if we look up here, Nigerian folktale, those might be unfamiliar words to you, but Nigerian, the word Nigeria is inside of that, and it's a place I'm going to tell you about. So when we see Nigerian, that's describing the place where this folktale came from. So Nigeria is a country in the continent of Africa. So on our map here in front of you, there are 7 continents. There's North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, and Australia. And inside every continent, there are countries. So, for example, inside of North America, we live in the United States. So that's a country in North America. And for our folktale today, it takes place in Nigeria, which is a country in the continent of Africa. The next word I'm going to tell you about is folktale, because it's a Nigerian folktale. And the folktale tells us what kind of genre this text is. Genre means type of text. Some genres are fiction, nonfiction, poems. But today we're going to read a folktale. And I'm going to tell you what a folktale is and tell you a little bit about folktales. But if you want to review any of this information later, you can come back and watch it again or take some notes. So a folktale is a story that was passed down from generation to generation by word of mouth, which is called oral tradition. That just means that the story was created by someone who told it to someone else, who told it to someone else, who told it to someone else, until over time the story changed and changed and changed. Kind of like the game telephone, if you've ever played that, where you whisper something to someone else who tells it again and again. And by the end, it's a lot different than how it started. But that's how these stories were passed down. They were passed down by word of mouth, people speaking. Folktales were made up to explain wonders of the world or to teach a moral or a lesson. So something we can learn or take away from the story. Some common elements of folktales. Usually things happen in threes. There's often a lot of things that get repeated, repetition. Whenever we see repetition, we're going to stop and say again and again, and we're going to ask ourselves why the author is repeating something. The last thing you might notice in folktales is that there's often like magic or things that happen that may not actually be able to happen in real life. So pay attention if you notice any of those things in our folktale today. One folktale you might be familiar with is called Little Red Riding Hood. You may or may not have heard that story, but it is a folktale. All right. So because we know that the story is a folktale, we know that it's fictional. So there's things that aren't necessarily going to be true in it, but it will take the form of a story. And in every story, we know there are characters. There's usually a problem that they face. There is a solution to that problem, or they try to find a solution. And we learn a lesson. Sometimes we learn a lesson from the good choices they make, and sometimes we learn a lesson from their mistakes. But today, as we're reading the text, we're going to stop at different points and do thinking about this text. We're going to have a thinking job, which just means we're going to notice the characters, what we're learning about them, if they encounter their problem, how they solve it, and what they learn from it. All right? So I'm going to start reading the text. You can follow along with me over here in paragraph 1. In the beginning, the sky was close to the earth, and the people didn't have to work for their food. All they had to do was cut away a piece of sky to eat. It tasted delicious, like meat or corn or honey or anything else they felt like eating. Since they did not have to hunt for their food, all they did was weave and carve and tell stories all day. When the great King Oba wanted to give a party, his servants would cut out pieces of the sky and shape them into wonderful forms. Animals, diamonds, leaves, or flowers. So I'm going to stop and notice some things in the text. I'm noticing there's some characters that have already come up. I see that there are people, says the people. I learned that there's a King Oba. And let me ask myself, what have we learned about the people? Well, it seems like the people didn't have to work for their food, is what the text says. How do we know that? It's because all they had to do was cut away a piece of sky to eat. That's interesting. If they could cut the sky, makes me wonder if the sky was really close to them, because there's no way I could even reach the sky to cut it, right? So I'm going to stop and jot a little note about my characters. Since I'm in the beginning of the story and I'm learning information about them, I need to keep track of that while I read. So here is my stop and jot. The people didn't have to work for food since the sky was close and they could eat it. If you want to stop right now and add this little jot on your notes, that would be really helpful for you when we get to the questions later. This information will be good. I want you, before you read my stop and jots, to try to make your own first and see if they're close to Miss Coatney's. All right, let's keep going. But as time went on, the people forgot to appreciate the sky. They took their food for granted and they became wasteful. They cut far more sky than they needed and threw away what they didn't use onto the garbage heap. The sky became angry because of the waste and the people's ingratitude for his gift. One day the sky grew very dark. The people were frightened. "Oba," a voice boomed above the king's palace. "Wasteful one, king of wasteful, ungrateful people. If you continue to waste food, you will have no more of the sky to cut." Let's stop because I'm noticing that there's another character in our story. We didn't know this, but the sky is actually a character. How do we know the sky is a character? Because characters typically have feelings. And what feeling is the sky having in this part of the text? Well, it says he became angry, right? Why is he angry? Because of the waste and people's ingratitude for his gift. Ingratitude for his gift. When you give someone a gift, you expect them to be thankful for that gift or appreciate it. But if they had ingratitude, they were not grateful for his gift, right? So we have a new character. And also, I feel like there's a problem, right? He's angry. Why is he angry? Well, we just talked about that. But people are wasting their food, right? So he warns them that if they keep wasting their food, what's going to happen? Cause and effect. If they keep wasting the food, eventually they're going to run out of it, right? You will have no more sky to cut. So it looks like he's giving them a warning, which was one of our vocab words earlier, a warning. So here I'm going to stop and jot. All right, so I'm going to keep reading. Oba was terrified. He sent messengers all over his kingdom. "Take only what you need," they warned. "The sky is angry because of your greed. Stop wasting the sky or there will be trouble." For a while, the people were very careful. They cut only what they needed from the sky. They ate all they took. Nothing was thrown on the garbage heap. Nothing was wasted. So since there was a problem, now I see that the people are trying to solve it, which is a solution. So I'm going to stop and jot the people's solution. We don't need to talk about this too much, but we can notice in this paragraph where you can see some evidence that they stopped wasting for a while. So I'm going to write, the people were careful and didn't waste for a while. However you want to write your sentence. Once every year there was a great festival in Oba's kingdom in celebration of his greatness. All the people looked forward to wearing their best clothes, dancing all night, and feasting on wonderful foods. Oba's servants prepared magnificent food. They pulled pieces of sky down and shaped them into flowers and animals in every imaginable form. They colored them and cooked them and placed them on huge platters so that the food looked tempting and inviting. Boys and girls, I'm going to stop because I'm having a moment where I'm noticing something is happening again and again. I remember we learned in the beginning that a folk tale often has situations that repeat themselves, and the author does that for a specific reason. So I want to stop and think about, why is the author repeating this situation? There was a party at the beginning of the story, and now there's another party again. So what I want you to do, which is always fun to do, is to stop in the middle of a story and make a prediction. I want you to pause this video and to write a sentence that makes a prediction about what you think is going to happen next. You can write "I think" or "I predict." All right, now hopefully you're done with that and back. So let's find out if your prediction was correct or not. The people came in gorgeous robes. Music played and everyone danced. Soon the people became hungry and started to eat. The food was so delicious that they ate and ate and ate until everything was gone. But the people were greedy and wanted more. Even though they were no longer hungry, they pulled down great quantities of the sky and gobbled them up. When they couldn't stuff into themselves, they threw on the garbage heap. greedy and wasteful. They forgot all about the sky's warning. Uh-oh, this is making me think there's another problem, and it's a problem that's been repeated again and again, right? I'm going to stop. I definitely want to make note of that. So I'm going to jot down what has just happened. The people repeated their mistake. They were wasteful and selfish. Suddenly, while the festival was still going on, the sky grew ominously dark. Thunder rumbled and roared, and fearsome knives of lightning sliced through the sky. People of the earth, the sky boomed, you are wasteful and greedy. I warned you. I will no longer give you food. You will have to work to eat. The sky sailed up high above the earth, far out of the reach of the tallest person. Ever since then, no one has been able to reach up and grab a piece of it, and the people must work hard on farms and in factories for their food. So we're going to stop one more jot. How does the story end? What is the resolution to this problem? It doesn't seem like the people have solved the problem, but it seems like the sky definitely solved this problem. So stop and jot a little note. Mine is going to say, from that day forward, people have had to work for food. So that's because of their greed. All right, so now what I want you to do is to take a minute to try to write your main idea or the big idea of this story. So you're going to use your stop and jots, which I included on the screen just in case you need them to help you out. But what I want you to do is to retell, what was the story mostly about? What's the big idea? So your main idea or big idea should only be one sentence or maybe two. And when you're done, I want you to post it into the comments on this video, and then you can check your work by comparing it to mine. If it's not a lot like mine, that's okay. I just want you to be thinking. All right, welcome back. If you want to take a minute to check your work, you can look up Ms. Coatney's main idea. I've written it right here. And you can compare yours to mine and see if you did a good job summarizing, just saying it in a much shorter way, what the story was mostly about. What was the main point of the story? So I'm going to keep going because of time, but if you want to pause this video and compare yours to mine, that would be great. Now I'm going to go to some questions that I want to answer, just to check and see how you're understanding the story. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to read these questions and the answer options. Then I want you to pause the video and write what you think the answer is on your paper. Go to the second question and do the same thing. Then I'll go back and tell you what the answers were, and you can see if you were right or not right. I wouldn't cheat on this. I would try to just do your best. This just is going to tell you how much you understood or didn't understand. So just have integrity. All right, question 1. Which event would be necessary to include in a summary of this story? Write your answer and why you chose it. A, people dressed in beautiful robes for the party. B, the sky warned the king that the people should not waste food. C, the people love to eat meat, corn, and honey. Or D, farms and factories are used to make food today. Which of these would be needed in a summary of this story? Only one answer is correct. Question 2. What is the important idea about life that the king learns in the story? Write your answer and why you chose it. A, do not throw lavish parties. Lavish is probably a word you haven't heard before, but fancy is another way to say it. B, it is best to work for yourself. C, do not be wasteful with food. Or D, it is good to try new foods. The answer is blank because blank. Pause the video, complete your question. All right, I'm going to go back to question 1 and kind of talk about which answer it is. The answer to question 1 should be B. The sky warned the king that the people should not waste food. This is because this warning is the main thing that happens in the story. It happens, he gives a warning, and then because they don't follow that, they end up not getting to have the sky as food anymore. So it's really, really important. The other information are details in the story that happen, but they're not the most important detail. They don't need to be in a summary. All right, in question 2, the answer should be C. Do not be wasteful with food. Right? The whole thing that the sky wanted the people to learn was to not be wasteful, and they continued, and that is why they had a punishment. So C is the best answer. All right, now for your exit ticket. Get your sheet of paper, answer questions 1 and 2. When you're done, text a picture of your exit ticket to my Google Voice number. It is right here on the screen, 901-295-9754. It was so great to be with you guys today. I can't wait to see all your responses. I miss you, and I hope we see each other soon.